Hello there, Commonwealth from. The Switch 2 reports are everywhere, but after covering the power of Nintendo's NG system in our previous video, which you'll find up here, let's go over Nintendo's own offering of games at launch. Naturally, a brand new open-air Zelda can't be released for another 5 to 6 years, and a new top-down Zelda will be perfect for the series' 40th anniversary in 2026. So no big Zelda on Switch 2 until 2 years into the system's lifecycle at the earliest? No, since I think they have the ace they are looking for right in front of their nose. Yes, Tears of the Kingdom. But wait a minute. The Zelda team said they are done with this Hyrule. DLC for the Switch version, yes, but not necessarily new content or even map for a Switch 2 version. So be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell, and let me explain. But first, a relevant question. Who of you have played Final Fantasy VII Remake? Many, but not as many as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The ultimate version of Mario Kart 8, which was released 2 months after the big launch title, Breath of the Wild. Now look and behold, the same title was demoed to the press on Switch 2 in upscaled 4K 60fps, thanks to far more RAM and DLSS. But why Breath, not Tears? To hide away one of Nintendo's potential biggest secrets. The Zelda team being done with the Switch version of the game, but putting all effort into a final ultimate version. Tears of the Kingdom, but on the Switch 2. Upscaled in 4K and running at least at stable 30 frames per second, all thanks to Nvidia's new chip and DLSS technology. Not only that, but with extra content. Indeed, this is not a new game per se, but just like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in 2017, it will offer more content at a base price. A bestseller alongside a different bestseller, the next Mario Kart. Do you see the genius in such a possible move? As it is the launch of the Switch in 2017, only with Zelda and Mario Kart change roles in 2024. Back then, we had new Zelda and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now we might see new Mario Kart and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Deluxe. A combo that we know will be an immediate success based on what happened in 2017. Under such a scenario, Mario Kart might launch the same day as the new system, and then be followed by Tears Deluxe no more than 3 months later. A winning formula which might already be under preparation in Kyoto, say somewhere around 12 months from this upload. But can you sell Tears of the Kingdom again for $70? Yes, if it looks better, that is to say has better resolution and graphics, runs better, that is to say frame rate, and offers brand new content unavailable in the Nintendo Switch version. Completing the Triforce required to re-release the same game so close to the original release, though on a different system. Here you see why Zelda producer Eiji Aonuma and director Hidemaru Fujibayashi denied the development of any DLC or new content plans in the Famitsu interview. What they stated might be true, though as we see, perhaps only for the current Nintendo Switch version, as the same might not apply to the successor system if there's a version of the game prepared for it. An upgraded and expanded edition, which they naturally cannot talk about, as Nintendo is yet to reveal it and the system it would run. But why am I even bringing up this possibility? Simple, as Square Enix has done the exact same thing in the past, specifically in 2020 and 2021. You see, the original version of Final Fantasy VII Remake came out in April 2020 for the PS4, 2 months before the reveal and half a year before the release of the PlayStation 5. Normally, this would suck for Square, but they had a plan with Sony scheduled for the next year. Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, Enhanced and Expanded PS5 Edition the year after in June 2021. A game that took advantage of the more powerful hardware to offer a better looking, running, and on top of that, an entire new questline, Intermission. All features and content that were exclusive to the PS5, making the PS5 version look so bad in comparison that Square and Sony offered free upgrades for PS4 owners migrating to the PS5. Though for those migrating, they had to buy Intermission as DLC separately on the PS5. You know where this is heading. Tears of the Kingdom Deluxe Switch 2 Edition by holiday 2024. Taking the original Tears of the Kingdom, upgrading it from a graphical and performance perspective, and then offering a free transfer for Switch owners to Switch 2. The last part is unlikely, as Nintendo never allows us to do that. Instead, I think they will allow us to transfer our save files from the Switch or force us to buy the game all over again for $70. Much like they did in the case of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for its new battle mode, characters, and dual items content, despite many of us already owning Mario Kart 8 with all paid DLC on the Wii U. It goes without saying, we Zelda fans will be there day one. And admit it, you will not want to miss out on the biggest expansion in any Zelda game to date. Especially if it is also sold as a dual bundle, so with Breath of the Wild and all its DLC in 4K. That being the bonus, the Tears of the Kingdom with a brand new quest and at best map to explore. Now let's turn the time a little bit back, so to the time when DLC for the Switch version could have been an option. So in August, where we called an expansion like this Nintendo's own Blood and Wine. And this was based on the largest and final expansion to The Witcher 3, which came out 1 year after the base game, with a new questline and map. This right here might be a little too much to ask from the Zelda team, but something between it and Final Fantasy VII Remake Intermission is absolutely on the table. An expansion added to the main game that could to some extent be compared to the value of full release titles. Bigger than Champion's Ballad, with proper new areas to explore, not only shrines or a new dungeon, whether that would be Sky Islands or an entirely new but smaller map. We all know that there is land out there beyond Hyrule, and the confirmation of other domains came with Yona. In other words, an option for such new content in Tears Deluxe could be her homeland, a place where maybe even Kass might currently be found. After all, he was nowhere to be found in the 20th Zelda, despite being mentioned by Pen at the end of the big news questline. As we all remember, Kass was the taskmaster of Breath of the Wild, both when it came to many of the Sheikah Shrine quests, that being in the main game, and the added ones, plus final trial in the Champion's Ballad. In other words, having a questline with him again, though this time outside of Hyrule, would be perfect. In fact, we have even a little treat for you made by JuliesGloom to illustrate how adorable the duet of Kass and Link playing instruments could be. Needless to say, I wouldn't be mad if this exact scene is the way this new content ends. Anyway, a return of Kass, one of the most beloved Breath of the Wild characters, and the most baffling exclusion from Tears of the Kingdom, but also something else. A proper taste of what might be next for open world Zelda, as it will be a very long time before we get the next full open air adventure, say around 2029 plus minus 1 year, rather late in the Switch 2's lifecycle. That is what I see, a smaller map outside of Hyrule, or new Sky Islands with a questline focused on the very old story of the 3 potentially Zonai dragons that we could farm from in Breath of the Wild and even ride in Tears of the Kingdom. This second option will be more than worthy send-off to this Hyrule in the end of 2024, so 10 years after it was introduced, before the Zelda team sets out on the path of creating a completely new open-air title in a new setting. Not so different from what Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury did with the added new campaign and map in 2021, which gave us a taste of the future of 3D Mario. And that included its potential jump to proper open world. Tears of the Kingdom Deluxe, or Tears of the Kingdom plus title of new smaller adventure, might do the same thing. Conclude the storyline of Tears with extra lore and gameplay before the final battles against Ganon. Not only that, have Nintendo delivered its final release. 10 years after Nintendo and producer Asia Numa revealed this Link and Hyrule at E3 2014 and the Game Awards 2014, all to make us hungry for the future of the franchise. Starting with a top-down game for the series' 40th anniversary in 2026, and the next open-air title, say 3 years after that again. The only thing I fear is that we could end up without a brand new open-air Zelda on the Switch 2, if Tears of the Kingdom Deluxe is too successful. After all, that is what happened with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which ended up getting paid DLC 5 years after the Switch version first released. But what do you think? Is Nintendo and the Zelda team denying DLC for Tears of the Kingdom Switch because they're preparing new content exclusively for Tears of the Kingdom Deluxe Nintendo Switch 2 Edition? Sound off in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell to help the channel to finally surpass 330,000 subscribers. Last but not least, a big thanks to you for watching until the end, and to all our patreon.com/commonrealm patrons. You all rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.